While the world outside of Occidental College has battled for decades to resolve the issues of racism and discrimination, Professor Ray Otero has created his own answer. He calls it the color game. And in his sociology class, students just don't read about it, they live it. He's created a mini world where classism and racism are experienced firsthand.
Any little thing when you're a lower class gets exploded into a big issue.
So I began to curtsy back every time anyone bowed to me, and by the end of a week I was an orange.
I'm not too thrilled about this muscle contest, that's for sure.
All of a sudden, it's almost like I became power hungry.
The men, or the no-techs of the class, they really resent being ogled at. They really resent having to make cookies and type papers when a lot of women...
Techs that bake cookies? Oranges that curtsy to their superiors? Well, if things seem strange here, you're right. These students are citizens of an invented society where colored armbands determine your status. If you're blue, you're the upper class, the top. A dark green is nearly there, but if you're a light green or worse, an orange, you're at the low end of the scale, and life in this mini society is filled with discrimination against you. On a recent visit to Occidental College, I asked sociology professor Ray Otero how he came up with this idea.
So what we did is come up with some arbitrary colors that I just made up, from blue, dark green, light green, and oranges, each one having a specific value in this society that is ethnic, racial, and class value, and people would have to correspond, interact with each other according to those colors that they were assigned or that they selected from a bag randomly.
I keep hearing this tech, no tech. Exactly what is a tech and what is a no tech?
Tech is the female in this society and is a superior being in every way. No tech is the males, and of course they're inferior in this society. By that we mean that they have to walk behind, sit behind, and in this term we started having them, the no techs or the males, have to curtsy to the females everywhere they find.
What happens when a student steps out of line and doesn't follow the rules?
All the rules that we have, bowing, curtsying, sitting behind and being behind other students in the cafeteria lines, etc., are enforced by a monitor or police force, quasi-police, quasi-FBI force called G4s. And they monitor the rest of the students to see that the rules are followed. If they don't follow the rules, we penalize them, we award them.
It sounds tough, but in the last few years, over 180 students have spent 8 weeks this way, and during that time, Otero has observed some remarkable experiences. Except when sleeping, participants are required to wear their armbands at all times, and they must behave according to their color. The lower colors must bow to upper colors, and an orange simply cannot talk to a blue. But there's also mobility. Ray and the G4s can promote or demote a player depending on how he or she is behaving. At the start, it's just a game, but soon students totally identify with their color group or try and change to another color. And through intensive classroom study, students come to understand the subtle and not so subtle evidences of racism and prejudice in our society.
I was told that the Japanese had been bad and that we had bombed, the United States. And nobody told me that our government had interned the Japanese Americans in this country. And it took me a long time to find out because it's not written in the history books. And they want us to believe that the white dominant group is good and that they've gone so far and they've done so much good for the country in this capitalist country, but they don't tell you who they stepped on to get there.
The white people are on top here, and it's in their best interest to lie to you, and they say, okay, George Washington was a great guy, but we never knew he had slaves, Abraham Lincoln liberated the blacks, so did he really?
As the class progresses, deep-seated feelings surface regarding racism, classism, and sexism. We question students about their new awareness.
There's not much unification among the upper classes. It's kind of everyone for themselves and how they believe the game should be played. When you become part of the lower class, you'll notice there's much more of a sense of unity. People band together, we help each other out much more.
I think that the minority who are in the upper classes realize that it's very easy to become a majority and enjoy the power.
It's frightening that any power that I get, I can abuse, and it's very important that I watch that, and that you hurt people without really meaning to.
I learned that the sexist problem is the worst one, I think. The racism, I think everyone was aware of, and they're all trying, to some degree, people are trying to change it, but the sexism is really bad.
The role reversal has been effective and caused me to take another look at the way I treat and view women, as opposed to treating them either as an inferior or as people that need to be spoon-fed all the time.
Throughout the semester, students interact with each other in a way they've never experienced before. At the long-awaited end of the game, pent-up feelings and emotions are finally released. Old friendships are renewed. Foiled schemes are revealed. And one student described what it was like to climb the social ladder from a light green to a dark green.
I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to feel. When I got to the greens, dark greens, I didn't want to be cold, or I didn't want to turn around and do some of the same things that I was against. I was just stuck. I was stuck in this place where I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to feel. I had nobody to guide me, and no man's land. I went home and cried.
In the beginning, the lower classes as a whole were reluctant, they were very humble. And towards the end, we were thinking of every single thing possible to throw this game in an uproar, seriously. And a lot of times we finally concluded that we shouldn't, because we were going to blow this game. We were going to be a landmark class. Literally, we were going to blow this game so far out of the proportion that it would have just been, gone. You wouldn't be able to hold on.
When I got in here, I said, I want to be a blue. I started out orange. I want to move up and show everybody it can be done. And I kept trying to think. I said, well, how can it be done? How can it be done? My pride wouldn't let me kiss up to any of the G4s. Nobody's gonna.
When you guys were oranges and when I was a light green, I knew that no matter when and if I was in trouble, I could trust somebody in that color, in my own color, the person sitting next to me, or the person sitting in back to me, or an orange, a different lower color. When I was a dark green, I couldn't trust anybody.
As people wore their armbands, and as the second, third week came around, you started associating the behavioral pattern that you were going to have towards that person according to the color you looked at the armband. And it became almost instinctive that you look at that color first and then know how to judge and how to act towards that person. Now remember that forever, because that's what happens in life. Except they don't look at an armband. They look at skin color, or an accent, or hair color. On and on. Okay? Now, if you recall, very first day, I promised you something. And I hope I delivered. I said we would all be taking a trip together into an alternate reality, into another planet, another final world. Class is my favorite. That day, I have students gather around in a circle, starting with my police force. And we start by hugging each other. Each one hugs each other in a circle, so that when it's completed in color order, as they hug each other, they will shed their armband and throw it in the middle of the class. So it's a ritual that we go through, very symbolic, that we all can visually see all those armbands in the middle of the class intermingled. One year they burned them. That's how they felt about it. Some of them cry, some of them laugh, because eventually as they go in order, everyone winds up hugging each other. Some go for seconds and thirds.
She was a light green, so we couldn't even talk to each other.
Somebody's shorter than me.
It's over. Yeah. Yes, it's over.
We're dealing with human feelings and emotions, and
I'm very proud of the fact that we have grown a lot in this classroom.
You know, if all of us could experience what those students experienced, I can't help but believe that the world would be a better place.